Many solid hip-hop projects have come out this year, with varying sounds and target audiences. For projects like K-Spark's Urban Couture and, as it's the topic of this video, Ruslan's Indie Jones, many might say these were underground projects. While I can't say it oozes of mainstream appeal, I don't think that was an area of focus for this project. In fact, let's analyze this whole project and see how it fares, and if there's anything to glean from it. This album doesn't concern itself with having a start-to-finish story. The best thing I could compare it to is a slice-of-life anime. Each track has a particular theme and mood to it, but none of the tracks are directly related or in sequential order. Rather, they have a string of consistency running through all of them, a string that binds everything together and makes it feel like a full project. The good thing about this approach is that the project has a lot, and I mean a lot, of replay value. You can start at any point in the project and pick a random song to enjoy. You'll be able to fully appreciate each song because there's no need to have any context from a previous song. For example, track 3 deals with the stress of too many problems and life issues coming in at once. He deals with it all by taking a breather and starting over in a way, coming up with new ways to go about doing what he does. Track 3 always feels like this, whether or not you've heard any of the other songs. The full message is there, and there's no feeling of having missed something by only playing that song. New Beginnings, although placed as the first song, could have easily been the last song as well. The album is adaptive to where you personally are in life, whether you feel like new beginnings are ahead of you, behind you, or where you're at this very moment. Likewise, we have track 11, a song that deals with reflection on insecurities, fears, and past choices in a solemnly repentant manner, and it could have appropriately started the album off. I feel that a lot of the track placement has to do with Ruslan balancing the sound presentation of the album, but as far as concepts go, many tracks have such a strong one that they could have started or finished the project. I suppose the natural downside to all of this is that the feeling of getting to the end of a project isn't necessarily felt here. Indie Jones can start and stop anywhere, so there's no real clear-cut point of ending. This could present a feeling of aimlessness to some listeners, as there's not an overarching story or message behind this mixtape. I found this to be a rather minor issue, however, mostly due to the way in which the project itself was presented, but I'll get into that a little later. For now, let's see how the project sounds. I don't know who handled Ruslan's production, and on top of that, I know Ruslan does production himself, so really I'm in the dark as to who made what beat. That being said, there is a similar touch to each of these beats. They all sound amazingly clean. On songs such as New Beginnings, track 11, and track 3, where bass is present, it doesn't overwhelm the overall feel of the track. The tracks don't sound one-directional in that sense. On the other hand, I wouldn't describe any of the songs as busy, either. Songs like Clock In, track 5, and track 6 have little to no bass, but they aren't stuffed with instruments either as to feel overly diverse or artsy. These songs strike a simplistic balance in such a way that they sound incredibly pleasing. So much so that, in my opinion, the songs with less bass on this project sound better in headphones than the songs that have a lot of bass. I think that's a testament to the masterful touch on production in Indie Jones, and despite the association of Ruslan with underground, this whole project is really easy to listen to without being mind-numbingly simple. Something else important I wanted to note is that rappers each have their own rapper voice, and that has a lot to do with their natural cadence and way of sounding when they rap. I'm mentioning this because Ruslan has told me that Eminem is an influence as far as rapping goes, but I've noticed that Ruslan has developed his own rapper voice. Ruslan and Eminem both have highly confident rap styles that blurs the line between confidence and emotion or passion, but the association I automatically think of between those two is entirely different. When Eminem sounds calm and confident, I think of the eye of a hurricane. It's only quiet for a time, and the power is there because the storm is still raging all around. When Ruslan sounds calm and confident, I think of a clever guy with a lot of tricks up his sleeve. The calm and confidence is there because he's got God on his side, so he really doesn't fear his competition. When Eminem gets emotional and passionate, the eye of the hurricane has passed, and now you're left with the full power of his feelings. It feels destructive and violent at times, and it's often hard to tell what directly caused the hurricane in the first place. When Ruslan gets emotional and passionate, it's more like a chink in his armor is showing. He becomes more human, more vulnerable, less smooth and more aware of his natural faults, as well as past pains. His knowledge and the tricks he knows aren't enough to keep him afloat, and he's fragile apart from God. It's not as explosive, but on the flip side, I do think it's more relatable. It was Ruslan who clued me in on the concept of a rapper voice, and ever since then I've been analyzing artists I enjoy to try and pick up inspirations and uniqueness in their style, so thank you to Ruslan for that information. As always, there's the importance of how an album relates to past work and its audience. Ruslan has kept to this sort of sound for some time now. Regardless of how his flow switches up, he never seems to be targeting different audiences with different songs. The project as a whole feels like it's for the same group of people all throughout, and Ruslan is showing them different sounds and styles. He hasn't switched to a more trendy presentation, and in doing so, is able to keep the same type of people coming back to see what he's doing next. It's a smart strategy if you ask me, and it leads into what I think is one of the greatest things about Indie Jones. I remember when this project came out in August, because I had pre-ordered it. I very rarely pre-order projects, and the only reason I did with this one was because I had been watching Ruslan's YouTube channel. He posts live videos of him rapping at random location, he gives advice to content creators, and he brings other artists onto his channel to connect and have them give advice as well. He even gives his subscribers chances to show him their music so that he can react to it and give them his suggestions to improve. As of recently, he also started providing commentary on albums and other things related to the world of hip-hop. All of this is the long way of saying that Ruslan seriously dedicates himself to sharing some of his life with his listeners in a way that goes beyond the music. The reasons we mentally connect with a YouTuber that does vlogs is different from the reasons that we connect with an artist who makes music. So when Ruslan asked for help in promoting the album, it was a normal person with his vlogs asking for help from those who were already engaged with him through his YouTube channel, as opposed to this rapper who doesn't have the same personal connection to his fans. We got to see the album in the making. Some of the weeklies got turned into tracks on this project while other songs are totally new. Part of the fun in Indie Jones was listening to the songs and seeing if I could identify if a verse was from one of his weekly rap videos. Beyond that, we also got to directly affect the impact of the album. Through the efforts of our pre-ordering and helping out Ruslan, the project debuted at number 7 on the iTunes hip-hop chart, which just goes to show that a very large group of people identified with him enough to want to help him out. So the person we hear in Indie Jones is the person we see in Ruslan's YouTube videos. It makes the tracks that much more relatable because we recognize certain parts. I think this whole approach is severely underused, and it creates a sense of continuity that's hard to match. I know some people feel that Ruslan isn't in this for God at all and what have you, but aside from the actually obvious references he makes to God in this project, his channel itself is something like a ministry where he builds up creatives. As per the usual, I'm not going to give out a score, because I like for you the viewers to come to your own conclusions, and I also feel that throughout this review I've given a pretty good idea of how I feel about it. But I will say this, think about some of your favorite artists. How far do they go to create a strong sense of connection with their listeners? Have they maintained the same sound direction, or do they seem to go with what's popular? And finally, what do you guys yourselves think of this project? Am I hyping it up a bit too much, or was it truly a shining example of an effective project? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, peace out.
Feeling like any stage, any crowd, I'll kill tonight. They steady tryna figure me out. Stop tryna figure me out. They still tryna figure me out. Stop tryna figure me out. I groove, move, live, life, slow. Don't care what it seems like. Move, groove, live, life, slow.